This printer is weird. Almost everything about it is different from a normal resin printer. I've been using it for a while and I found something kind of surprising. Most of those differences don't really matter, but the few that do, they really matter. And it makes this a pretty decent printer, especially for the price of, around 500 bucks. This is the Halot-X1 by Piocreat, which is like an offshoot of Creality. I'm gonna go over what makes it so weird, what actually helps in real use, and whether or not any of it actually matters to you. Who is this thing for anyway? Their marketing is entirely focused on miniatures. Totally. Tabletop gaming miniatures, D&D characters, sculptures to paint, that kind of thing. And honestly, it does that really well. But there are a few features of this thing that don't seem to apply to miniatures very well at all. And those are what surprised me the most. So I've been using this printer for a while now. I printed everything from like tiny detail minis, really big flat things, some edge case stuff that I didn't really expect would work that well, and I want to walk you through what stood out. Okay, so what makes it weird? It seems like a normal resin printer, right? But once you start using it, everything seems a little bit upside down. The user interface is up here on the top. That's kind of weird. The flip up lid's very nice. I wish every manufacturer just went to the flip up lids from now on. This tray, this build plate, it's not tight. It's loose at all times. It automatically locks when you use it. That's kind of neat. You don't forget to clamp the thing down, which I do quite frequently. On this printer, the plate doesn't go up and down. The whole vat goes up and down. There's this optional resin feed system here, which a lot of printers come with some version of that these days. The drip tray, it's actually really good. None of these are like deal breakers or deal makers either way, in my opinion. But some of these solve some problems that other resin printers just kind of accept, which is kind of nice. So let's talk about what most people use these things for, printing minis. I printed a full army for One Page Rules, 2,000 points of orcs that they just released a few months back. A bunch of infantry, a buggy, some bikes, a walkers. These are all pre-supported minis you get on My Mini Factory. I like One Page Rules minis, mostly because I like the game and I can add these to the painting queue once I'm done with the reviews, but also the pre-supports are very high quality. So if something fails, it's generally not the fault of the file you're printing. I had almost no issues with the standard files. The only one I did was the dice. You can get like army themed dice. They pulled off of the supports. I don't think that's a problem with this printer. It seems to do that on every printer. Every printer I try one of these dice, they never seem to work. There were a couple of little things like weapons or arms that didn't work out of the whole 2,000 point army, but generally, I think I only lost a few, and that's pretty standard. In general, the minis were great. The one failure I had was the buggy. It printed without headlights on it because I ran out of resin. I was printing without this thing hooked up. If you've printed for long enough, you know the pain of running out of resin. And now these orcs can't drive their buggy at night. The print detail is excellent. This is a modern printer, 16K resolution. It's very good. The detail on the prints is going to be better than your eyesight, especially if you're holding it out here and your eyes are almost 40 years old like mine. I think printers passed the better than eyesight mark years ago. Didn't have to calibrate anything on this. No leveling the vat, just adjusting exposure time on different resins, and that's pretty standard. In fact, it printed so reliably, I decided to push it. Usually pre-supported STLs are designed for a specific size, the supports are, and you can push it up or down like 20%. So that's what I did. I printed a bunch of the One Page Rules elves at 80% size, shrunk them a bit, and no failures. They all printed fine. So I thought, what if I scaled down my whole 2,000 point orc army, which took several plates, and I printed it all on one plate? How far would I have to shrink it? Turns out, 50%. I have to shrink them in half. That takes these down to about a 15mm scale. The best scale, according to some people. I could fit all the infantry, all the vehicles, the walker, everything on one plate. Plus I had enough space to fit a couple of extras that failed in the previous run of the full-size ones, including a big bike. And I stuck them on there, 50%, with the pre-supports for the full-size one. Generally, that's pushing it too far. So, did it work? Drum roll. I lost maybe 3 guys out of the entire army. We're talking dozens of models here. 3 dudes didn't work, and a bike. I had maybe a half dozen with other issues, like one of the arms didn't print or something. And then I lost a whole bunch of tiny weapons when I was trimming the supports. Remember, the weapons and supports, everything is for the full size. When you shrink it, things get very fragile, and I am not careful. Layer adhesion was really good. The detail is really solid. I'll show some back-to-back images here of full-size ones next to the half-size ones. And you can really see in a lot of little details that they didn't fail. I didn't lose a lot of detail. I mean, I might have lost a bit of detail, but my eyes can't tell the difference. Anything I can see is still there. They claim this printer has some technology that reduces failures. I don't have numbers to go with that, but I can say I didn't have to fight it, even printing full-size things at half size with no alterations. It seemed to work just fine. It seemed about as reliable as printing the full-size ones. So if you're into like epic scale gaming, there you go. One of the standouts for me is this resin feed system right here. Instead of just dumping resin into the vat or having a feed system that just blindly pumps, hoping that there's resin in the bottle, this has like an RFID system that keeps track of how much it's pumped out of the bottles. That's pretty neat. There's also a laser level inside there, so it knows exactly how much is in the vat. And that RFID system works as long as you're using their bottles from their resins. If you use third-party resins, you're totally able to do that, unlike some other printers, but that RFID system, it isn't gonna work. It's still gonna try pumping resin into the vat. So it can still work even if you use cheapo Sunlu resin or something like that. And this, like most resin pump systems, eliminates the most annoying part of resin printing where you run out of resin partway through and it's printing overnight and you're in bed and you don't realize till the next day that you just wasted a whole bunch of materials and time. The fact that it keeps track is very helpful, and at the same time, they don't limit you only to their bottles. So you kind of get best of both worlds. Another fun fact, this thing heats the resin. The resin can be preheated while it's going through the pump thing, so you don't end up with a bunch of cold resin in the vat as it's pumping it in. I'm not sure if that does anything, but I didn't have failures because of it, so that's nice. They're sold together. It's actually really cheap to add this when you get the combo. Just do it. It's like the cost of 2 bottles of resin, and just imagine how much resin you'll save over the long term, not having to reprint entire orc buggies that don't have headlights because you ran out of resin. Keep in mind, that was before I hooked this thing up. The build plate is probably the weirdest part of this printer. It doesn't lock into place. It locks into place when you start the print. So when it's done, it feels loose, and it's kind of like weird, right? Because you're worried that it's not attached and you have to remember, oh, right, it does it automatically. I have personally forgot to lock build plates in a bunch of other printers. I seem to do it like once a month. It's annoying. You don't have to worry about this, but that's not the crazy thing. It's how the thing is released. The auto lock doesn't change much, but take a look at that. It twists to release the part. I'll be honest, I didn't think this solved a problem. I thought it was just needless complication. For most supported prints, especially minis, it doesn't seem to change much. And for tiny things, it actually caused more issues. Some of the tiny prints didn't release as well. It could tear up the supports. And it actually made cleaning it off with the scraper a little more difficult. They kept getting caught on the edges of the different sides of the plate, and there are little tiny pieces that get caught on top, and they can be kind of annoying to get out of there. And I'm always worried that they're gonna end up in the vat and cause issues. It's not really a big deal, but it's just kind of annoying, you know? But then I printed something big and flat right to the plate, and suddenly it made perfect sense. Flat prints are notoriously difficult to remove, especially with certain resins. On a normal plate, like you're fighting suction, you can't get it under there. A lot of printers don't have those flexi plates that can pop the thing off. I have some weird resins that are supposed to print flat to the plate to prevent warping. So what do? Well, you struggle, unless you have one of these. If you print something flat, you twist, it just pops it right off. No problem. No prying, no panic, no bent scrapers, no gouging into the plate. I tried printing a 3D scan of my face, chopped down the middle, flat to the plate. I added supports, I hollowed it out, but I didn't raise it up off the plate. Built flat there and very thin. When I took it off the printer, it just popped off. It didn't rip anything. It didn't crack the very thin face, though I did, trying to remove some of the supports because it's so thin. It is extremely thin walled, and I would have shattered it getting it off a normal plate. On this, no problem. If you need a 3D print to have flat surfaces and you need to print it flat on the plate, this is the perfect plate for getting stuff off easily. And a quick shout out to the drip tray. This might sound boring, but this is one of the best ones I've had. It slides in easy, one-handed. So you can even do it behind my back, and it's wide enough to catch anything, and it actually extends over the vat. So it's quite large. Take a look at that. It makes cleanup way easier. It's one of those things you don't really notice. A lot of printers have drip trays, and you don't really notice how nice it works until you try it and you get pleasantly surprised, like I did. That's all fine, but a few of the differences, they don't really matter much. They're neat, they work just fine. They don't affect my workflow at all. The moving vat, how the vat goes up and down instead of the plate going up and down, it's cool, but it didn't change anything, at least as far as like my experience using the thing. The UI being up here on the top is totally usable, easy to see. I don't have to bend over to see down here and have my back remind me how old I'm getting, but it works fine. It had some extra glare off the shop lights because it's pointing up. Not really a big deal. The programming and the user interface, very easy to use. I didn't even have to read the manual. It just, worked. The auto locking plate, it's kind of weird to get used to. It's nice. It really doesn't affect stuff. It prevents problems where you forget to lock the plate down, but that's kind of all it does, in my opinion. None of these are bad. Like, all those features work fine. They just don't change how I use the printer. And they sell these things, printer plus this, for around 500 bucks. That's pretty good. It's a little more than some of the competitors, but it works great. This thing is pretty neat, and that alone is worth the price bump, I think, the resin feed system. You get very good quality prints. It's very reliable. You get a few genuinely thoughtful additions, which is kind of neat. Is it revolutionary? In my opinion, not really. Is it a solid, dependable printer that would work fine in your shop? Yes. So who should buy this thing? If you're printing miniatures, this is an easy recommendation. There's a lot of good printers out there, and this is definitely one of them. If you want a printer that's reliable, it's predictable, doesn't surprise you with dumb failures, this is a pretty good one. If you occasionally print flat parts or specialty resins that need to be printed flat on the build plate, or anything where carefully releasing it matters, this is an extra good option because of this interesting release mechanism. If you hate running out of resin mid-print, and who doesn't, the feed system here, it's a huge quality of life improvement over printers that don't have them, especially because it doesn't just maintain the level in there, it kind of keeps track in the bottle too. But like I said, that only works if you're using their resins, and their resins are fine. I had very good luck. The prints look great. I generally use Sunlu for minis, but this is perfectly good. If you're interested in getting one of these, I'll put links down below where you can find them. If you're getting one, I would strongly suggest paying the little extra and getting the feed system. It's surprisingly cheap as an add-on. As always, let me know what you want to see printed next, or what questions you have about the machine. If you put them down below, I'll answer them in the comments. Everyone else can read them kind of like an FAQ. So thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.